Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to discuss about argumentation and point of view by yours truly. For those who have not yet known me, I am Jocelyn Encina and I am a professional teacher, a licensed professional teacher, and my subject of specialization is mathematics. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe and hit that notification bell button para lagi kayong updated pag meron tayong bagong upload na video. So let's start. Let's define first what argumentation is all about. Argumentation is clear thinking, logic to convince reader of the soundness of a particular opinion on a controversial issue. It is an action, or argumentation is an action or a process of reasoning systematically in support of an idea, action, or a theory. Argumentation is how conclusions can be reached through logical reasoning. In logic and philosophy, an argument is a series of statements called the premises, intended to determine the degree of truth of another statement, and that's what we call the conclusion. The argumentation is your line of thinking or reasoning to get to a logical conclusion. It's a discussion of different ideas, of course. This follows certain procedural rules like in debate or in a dialogue. Argument mainly just disagreements. Uses words to try to convince the other person or to accept what you're saying. And the emotions used to convince reader to take a particular action is what we call the persuasion. Persuasion is the action or fact of persuading someone or of being persuaded to believe something, a belief or set of belief, especially religious or political ones. Argumentation and persuasion are often combined. So let's go on. When and where are we going to use argumentation? It includes the arts and science of, first, civil debate. We're going to use the argumentation in civil debate because civil debate is a formal discussion on a particular topic in a public meeting or legislative assembly in which opposing arguments are put forward. An argument about a particular subject, especially one in which many people are involved. For example, a presidential debate. So they are using argumentation. They argue about a specific topic or a particular subject. So next, we use argumentation in conversation. A talk, our daily conversation, especially an informal one, between two or more people in which news and ideas are exchanged. So next, we use argumentation in dialogue. Conversation between two or more people as a feature of a book, play, or a movie. It's a discussion between two or more people or groups, especially one directed toward exploration of a particular subject or resolution of a problem. So next, in persuasion or in an advertisement, we use argumentation. A notice or in an announcement in a public medium promoting products, services, or job vacancy or event. So we use argumentation there. So let's go on. Who uses argumentation? Who argues? The truth is, everybody argues. Of course, everybody argues. We use it in our daily lives. For example, in our daily conversation, scientific and mathematical argumentation, legal argumentation. Everybody argues, and everybody has the right to use the argumentation. So next, why do we argue? We argue because we want something. We want to prove something. And in order to get what you want, you need to negotiate with other people. When someone criticizes us, we choose to argue or we choose to fight when we feel insulted. Instead of getting motivated, most people choose to say things which hurt the other persons more. Some people criticize us because they want to show their power, and some reply to that criticism because they want to seek respect. Arguing, it allows us to communicate our needs to others. Arguing does not have to be malicious or cruel. You can have loving and compassionate conflict. Anger is a natural emotion, and it alerts us, letting us know that something doesn't feel good for us, and that is good to let others know. So next, why do we argue? We argue because of difference in opinions or thoughts. It is one of the most naturally explicit forms of human interaction that shows us how diverse we are. Common knowledge indicates that people argue for the reason that in order to find out what you believe, as well as what other people believe and why. So next, in academic writing, arguing and discussing is often part of a larger piece of writing. In arguing and discussing, you are expected to present two or more points of view and discuss the positive and negative aspects of each case. In the basis of your discussion, you can choose one point of view and persuade your readers that you are correct. This means you're giving opinions. This means giving your opinions, maybe it's positive or negative, on the work of others and your own opinion based on what you have read and learned. You need to evaluate arguments, weigh evidence, and develop a set of standards on which to base your conclusion. So next, the point of view. So let's define first what is the meaning of point of view. In every statements or discussions, of course, there's a different point of view. So let us know what is the meaning of point of view. Point of view is a particular attitude or way of considering a matter. For example, I'm trying to get Matthew to change his point of view. The narrator's position in the description of events and comes from the Latin word punctum visus, which literally means point sight. The point of view is where a writer points to sight of the reader. For example, the story is told from a child's point of view. So in fiction writing, in other words, the narrator's position in relation to a story was being told. So let's go to the author's point of view. In fiction writing or in a storytelling, there's a narrative perspective and it composed of dialogue and narration. So let's define dialogue and narration. Dialogue is when characters speaks. Narration when narrators speak. Quotation marks separates dialogue from narration. So it includes the person who is telling the story or the narrator, as well as the character from whose point of view the story is being told. So next, for example, help, my cousin Jack said. So the dialogue is the help and the narration is my cousin Jack said. So that's the narrator. The narrator speaks. Okay? Next, the narrative perspective refers to a set of features determining the way of a story is told and what is told. It's about the narrator. We're not looking at dialogue. We don't care what character says, only the narrator's voice matters. So wala tayong pakialam sa characters. Ang kailangan lang natin is yung narrator's voice, or doon lang tayo mag-focus sa narrator. Okay? So we're trying to figure out the narrator's point of view in the story. In order for us to determine the point of view of a story, we will be guided by the pronouns that narrator uses to describe the central characters. So let's check it out. Point of view pronouns. So here they are, the narrator's perspective and their signal words. So first person narrator's perspective, they uses the signal words I, me, my, mine, and so on and so forth. The second person, they use the signal words you, your. And the third person uses the signal words he, she, her, they, them, also characters' names. Example, I am in the room. I lies to the first person narrative's perspective. The next example, you come in the room. You lies on the second person's perspective. So then he or she came in the room. He or she lies on the third person's perspective. So next, first person, the narrator is a part of a story and refers to him or herself. First person uses pronouns or signal words I, me, we, us, our, my. So for example, I went home, Tim came over, I couldn't play. And here are the signal words. My name is Percy Jackson. I'm 12 years old. Until a few months ago, I was a boarding student at Yancey Academy, a private school for troubled kids in upstate New York. So the narrator is in the story and refers to him or herself. First person is when I am telling the story. The character is in the story, relating his or her experience directly to the story. So let's move on. The second person, when the narrator says you and puts the reader directly into the story, and sometimes it uses for instructions. And the signal words are you from your perspective. For example, first gather your materials. Add 1 cup sugar to flour. Another one, there is darkness everywhere. A small amount of light is radiating from the half moon floating in the sky overhead. There are no stars. It is cold and humid. You look around you and find your friends gone. You are completely alone. So here are the signal words. So the second person is almost never used. Literature, and usually it's used to give instructions. Look at this first example. The second person mostly used for instructions. Okay. Another example from Percy Jackson. If you're reading this because you think you might be one, my advice is close this book right now. Believe whatever lie your mom and dad told you about your birth and try to lead a normal life. As you can see here, the narrator says you a lot in the Percy Jackson example. It's true. Percy does talk to the reader sometime, but Percy is still the one narrating the story. So it is still in his first person perspective. Okay, is that clear? So here, the third person is the narrator is telling a story about the other people. So he's not in the story. So the third person uses the words he, she, him, her, they, and so on and so forth, including the character's name. So the narrator will use words like that. So there's more. There are three types of third person's perspective. So first, the third person omniscient. Let's define first what third person omniscient is all about. Narrator is all-knowing. Tell thoughts and feelings of more than one character. Omni means all and scient means knowing. A narrator knows everything that needs to be known about the characters or events in the story, and who has privileged access to the characters' thoughts, feelings, and motives. This narrator never needs to say maybe or perhaps a character feels something. They always know it. So for example, Tim was mad at Shai. He blamed her. Shai knew Tim would be mad, but she wanted to live her life. So next, the third person limited. So narrator is limited to one character. Tells thoughts, feelings of one another. A narrator who is confined to what is experienced, thought, or felt by a single character, or at most a limited number of characters. They do not seem to be sure of what every character is feeling. So they are not sure, no? Kaya it is limited. So for example, Tim was mad at Shai. He blamed her. Shai just left without saying anything. She left a note and then left him. So next, the third person objective. The third person objective is the narrator does not reveal any character's thoughts or feelings. Only characters' dialogue and actions are narrated. This narrator can only tell you what you can be seen or heard. They cannot know anyone's thoughts or feelings. They are all objective observers. We can tell others what we see or hear, and we can guess at someone's thoughts, but we cannot know what they are thinking unless they tell us. For example, Tim slammed the door. He walked upstairs with a note from Shai. He kicked his trash can and started crying. So let's go on. There are three major ways that an author presents an argument. So here they are. So first, reasoning. Reasoning in which the author presents a logical explanation of the arguments. The second, evidence, in which the author presents statistics, facts, and studies to prove his point. And the third one is appeal, in which the author appeals to the reader's emotions to elicit empathy. I have here some tips on determining the narrator's perspective. So first, check first and second person before worrying about objective, limited, or omniscient. Ask whose story is the narrator telling, his, mine, or someone else's. And the last one, focus on narration, not on a dialogue. Salamat sa pakikinig sa ating discussion for today at abangan nyo ang susunod na discussion natin sa susunod na video. Bye-bye!